Okay.
Perfect. We are good to go. Everyone, and thank you so much for taking out time. And a very warm welcome to the joint webinar on the Innovation Challenge of India-Sweden Healthcare Innovation Center, which we are conducting today in collaboration with Startup India. Just for everyone's information, this is being broadcasted live onto YouTube platform, where multiple startups have been logging in through YouTube. For all the startups who have joined us through YouTube, please drop your questions in the comments box. We will address all your questions at the end of the webinar. Without any further delay, I would request Claes Molen, Ambassador of Sweden to India, to give the opening remarks. Over to you, Claes.
Thank you very much, Harika, and good afternoon, all of you. I'm heartened and impressed of the number of people who have expressed interest and who are, in fact, also joining. Something that I think promises to be, or definitely is, one of the most interesting, one of the most conducive and practical ways in which, and this is my perspective every day, in which Sweden and India are collaborating closer and closer and more and more. It's already a fantastic, we have a fantastic record of collaboration over the years, over the decades. I think this field definitely is one of the most promising. It's certainly one of the most to all of us, to society, but definitely also one of the most conducive and best examples of how we collaborate today. Let me take a moment very briefly to thank Startup India for their part, very important, crucial part in today's endeavor and their interest in also furthering our collaboration. Of course, AstraZeneca as one sponsor, and our longtime partners, AIMS, Jodhpur, and of course here in Delhi, where I'm speaking to you from. Over some time. I, of course, also very much direct these remarks to those of you who are interested in taking part and in collaborating further with Sweden, particularly in this and in other fields. And the startup community is crucial. And it's something that I have just come back from a brief visit to Sweden, where I saw many of our key partners over the years. The CEO community, we have something called the India-Sweden Business Leaders Roundtable, which has a few working groups. And there's a core group of people, CEOs in Sweden and headquartered elsewhere also, who keep a very keen eye on the bilateral relationship and are constantly looking for new areas of collaboration. And of course, healthcare, medtech, etc., biotechnology is a key field, not just because of the pandemic, but because there is so much going on. For one foundation for our bilateral collaboration in health is the MOU that now dates back more than 10 years, 12 in fact, and which saw a 10th anniversary a couple of years ago, when in fact the decision to launch the Innovation Center was taken. The King and Queen of Sweden were here on a state visit. We had a number of both ministers and a huge business delegation accompanied their majesties on a state visit here. And this and many other collaborations, very close and direct collaborations, were discussed and some were signed also into MOUs and other forms of partnerships. I think it's very clear that going back and looking at the MOU and looking at our collaboration, particularly in health and the medical sciences, etc., traditionally it's been a question of bringing technology, the research and some of the tools that have been developed in Sweden over some time to India, in this case, to India, to a country, a vast country, huge population, incredible data, of course, that can be amassed and also analyzed and put to use for future types of interventions, for diagnostics and looking at what healthcare and what certain treatments, etc., mean at such aggregate numbers that we simply don't have. We have had historically the ingenuity, the technology, the research, and we still do. We have the Karolinska Institute, many other medical colleges, etc., centers of expertise. But what's happening now, and which is so exciting, and which I really see Swedish companies and people at the forefront, investors, etc., looking at, is the new ways. Also linking up the large, and AstraZeneca is a very good example of this, of course, the large and very experienced companies with lots of resources and willingness to invest and to improve, linking them with startups, linking them with new ideas and people who want to collaborate in-house, and also setting up partnerships in new settings. So this, to me and to us, is one prime example of this. I'll try to wrap up by simply saying that if I were to list two areas where our partnership between Sweden and India is most vibrant at the moment, it is innovation and it is health. And linking those together, simply put, how can you go wrong? So best of luck to all of you. Thank you for helping out the partners in Startup India, Astra, AIMS, of course. But most of all, thank you to the participants who are willing to put their time and work towards new endeavors and new initiatives, and best of luck to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Klaus. And definitely this is a unique platform where we could exchange best ideas between both the countries. With that said, I will now request Dr. Sanjeev Mishra, Director AIMS Jodhpur, to give an address on the Innovation Center and the collaboration. What to you, sir?
Thank you, Alika. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, His Excellency Klaus Moen, Ambassador of Sweden to India, and all the panelists for this webinar. We've been asked to talk about the India-Sweden Innovation Center. It all started with the visit of the Swedish delegation, which was led by the Honorable Minister from Sweden, and His Excellency Mr. Moen was also a part of that, and we did discuss and work out things. And since then, the government of India and the Sweden government and the Swedish embassy have been helping and part of this. With that in mind, the Center for Innovation at AIMS Jodhpur was launched with having AIMS Delhi and Ministry and ICMR all as participant organizations involved with it. And the COVID, well, we still did a good job during the COVID. We were able to have a lot of meetings, and we got the center started in terms of the having the first India-Sweden Innovation Challenge, and it was had an overwhelming response, and we could take around 14 people as startups where we at AIMS Jodhpur would be mentoring, and the center has come up in AIMS Jodhpur, and we had a visit from the Swedish delegation to Jodhpur, and I think again we had a lot of discussion on that. This was all part of the, as Ambassador Molen has said, part of the India-Sweden 10 years of collaboration on health. And I think with so much of things happening in COVID, it has let us taught us about so many other things. And innovation is something in healthcare where it can be disruptive. You can have a small innovation that can make a lot of difference, and we are really happy entering these startups at AIMS Jodhpur in this at the Innovation Center. And both the Prime Ministers of Sweden and India also announced Jodhpur to be an India-Sweden health hub care for all the projects, which is for the collaborative work. And we have also established a Center of Excellence in Oncology, which we are talking about patients for cancer, their rehabilitation, their diagnosis, getting out to the community, and seeing that how best we can do that. And that will be interesting to see the data that comes out of that Center for Excellence and how it's going to make an impact on the healthcare of these cancer patients. Second, India's Within Innovation Health Challenges, I think, has also been announced, and I'm sure that it's going to be again, the response is going to be very good, and look forward for the second set of innovators and startups. And at AIM Jodhpur, we really take great pride to be part of this India's Within Innovation Center, and we show that center comes up well, and joint collaborative work between AIM Jodhpur and the different health agencies in Sweden, and which works also besides the innovation center also is on the academia and on the research one, which will really help build up things for the future. And thank you for asking us to be part of this webinar, and I'm sure that reaching out to so many people will give this India Innovation Center a further push forward, and look forward to the second India Within Innovation Challenge. Thank you. Thank you, Abhay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mishra, for highlighting the overview of the collaboration and also about the different components under it. I would now request Ms. Asta Grover, Head of Startup India, and who is also a core partner in the joint webinar, to address on the collaboration and also address the startups out here. Over to you, Asta.
Thank you, Erica. Good afternoon, everyone. Ambassador of Sweden to India, Claes Nolan, members from the Trade Commission, Consul General, Mr. Amrit Hinduja, co-lead from the India-Sweden Healthcare Innovation Center and an integral part of this program, Dr. Sanjay, Dr. Kuldeep, Dr. Amit Goel from AIMS Jodhpur team, Alex and Deepak from AstraZeneca, and to all the startups and members who have joined us today. The pandemic has actually put a lot of spotlight on the vibrant health tech ecosystem in India. And as the ambassador himself was saying, you put innovation and you put health tech together, nothing can go wrong. Provided a new opportunity to leverage specifically technologies that are backed by big data, analytics, AI, remote learning, and data interconnectivity. As much as we dread what happened during the pandemic, but I just wanted to take a moment to highlight the changes in consumer behavior in the ecosystem from an innovation perspective, thanks to the health tech startups. So, just the very first example, from going to local pharmacists to buy medicines, there was an increase in demand of over 200% for the online orders, thanks to online pharmacies like 1mg PharmEasy. I never thought my parents would leave their neighborhood pharmacy shop and start ordering online. From visiting hospitals and clinics for checkups, all the online consultations saw an increase in about 300% for this teleconsultation platform. We were always exporting expensive medical equipments from outside, but the pandemic saw indigenous low-cost ventilators, Bluetooth-enabled stethoscope being produced, and many, many such more innovations being produced in-house in India. And all these changes, all these innovative solutions were brought in by our very own startups and innovators. It is now very clear to us that the new age digital health solutions will define the market trends post the COVID world also. A very interesting stat, from our startup base at DPIT, we saw that there are about 5,000 health tech startups that are recognized in India. What was even more interesting that about 50% of these startups have been incorporated in the last financial year. Owing to the need, owing to the demand, and owing to the problems, all innovators came forward with innovative solutions. We also saw that, during the pandemic, there were 3 new health tech unicorns that were born. Let me also share another interesting unicorn statistics. While it took India about 7 years to have the first 9 unicorns, we multiplied this number of unicorns not by 2x, not just by 3x, but imagine by 6x in half the time. So there were 54 new unicorns in the last 3.5 years, taking India to become the third largest ecosystem in terms of not just the number of startups, but number of unicorns as well today. With this tremendous and unappalled growth of startups in the health sector, it is very encouraging to see the support through the embassy, through Business Sweden, through AIIMS Jodhpur and Delhi. The first challenge that we launched with Business Sweden, with the support of the embassy and AIM, was, in my opinion, very, very successful for the fact that the health tech startups were not just given the opportunity to participate in this program, but they got intangible support through mentorship, through industry connects, through clinical validation and international market expansion also. With that, I was not surprised to see the positive response and enthusiasm among the enablers for the second challenge, which has received almost 100 applications from the length and breadth of the country. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Business Sweden and AIIMS team for their unwavering support to guide these young entrepreneurs and help India become truly Atmanirbhar. The active contribution of all the players in this program, not just to provide incubation facility, but their valuable time, their mentorship, the immense networking opportunity that will go a long way in building the growth and success of these young minds. We also celebrate 75 years of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav in India, and with that, I acknowledge and express my sincere gratitude to Business Sweden, to the AIIMS team, to Mr. Amrit as his team for their contribution to the health tech startups and this innovation landscape in India. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Asta. And I would now request, because a lot of you would want to understand more about the India Sweden Healthcare Innovation Center and what we have been doing, I would now request Mr. Amrit Hinduja, who is a co-lead of India Sweden Healthcare Innovation Center, to give us a brief overview about the Innovation Center and what is the work that we have been doing.
Right. Thanks, Harika. Without going much into the trajectory of or the history of where this journey started, since already both the ambassador and Director Mishra have mentioned that this collaboration is started last year between AIIMS Jodhpur, AIIMS Delhi, and Sweden. It's a collaboration that has a mission and vision to work towards solving healthcare challenges between India and Sweden. And the overall aim is to find affordable, accessible solutions that can help take healthcare to the next level. Photograph that you see here is actually from the launch ceremony that we had last year. And I think, as you see, it was launched with the highest level of commitment from both the governments of Sweden and India. And it is this type of platform and network and stakeholder engagement that we are also able to leverage on for the startups who engage with us. If you could just help move the slide ahead, Harika. Yeah, maybe the next one. When we speak about innovation at the India Sweden Healthcare Innovation Center, it's important to highlight that while traditionally when you think of an innovation center, you would think about innovating with startups, with technology, with products. And of course, this is a very important part of what the center does. It is to work with startups like yourself to be able to engage with you and help you scale up and grow, and to use our network to take your company, your idea to the next stage. However, what we also do work with, which is also a very integral part of improving healthcare, is to develop new models to actually deliver healthcare. We call this working with innovation in process and protocols. The Center of Excellence that Director Mishra mentioned earlier is an example where we are developing a new model to work with comprehensive cancer care for patients at AIIMS Jodhpur. And the idea is that in order to introduce new innovations, you also need to kind of bring in improved and upgraded systems and the right environment to absorb the startups. So we work with the technology, we work with the processes, but that's not enough very often to change systems. And therefore, skilling and innovation in skilling and capacity building is the third area that we focus on at the Innovation Center, working with skilling of paramedics, nurses, physicians, etc., which will also then upskill them to use new technologies and apply new knowledge. And of course, once you have all of this, you also have a lot of data, you have new models. So being able to articulate and analyze the data, being able to talk about these new business models is another very important pillar of the Innovation Center. So what really makes the India Sweden Healthcare Innovation Center stand out in many ways, apart from this very interesting constellation of players, is this way of thinking of working with technology, processes and protocols, skilling, data, and business models. Uh, we, while the India Sweden Healthcare Innovation Center is, of course, in many ways geographically situated, or we tend to be geographically concentrated at AIIMS Delhi and Jodhpur in our collaboration. What I can really say is probably the word is sometimes very misconstruing. We are really trying to do in this collaboration, develop an ecosystem, work with innovation. Uh, in Sweden, you often have this way of working with in quadruple helix of involving various stakeholders from government, academia, industry, the research, and the private sector to come in to solve innovation, to solve challenges. And this is something we have tried to inculcate while building this ecosystem. Uh, Startup India, who is up here today for this innovation challenge and this webinar, of course, a very important player in this constellation, where we try to, through this initiative, also support the startups and also the Make in India for the World concept. At the same time, we work very closely with Atal Innovation Mission, CCAMP, ICMR, the ministries on both sides. We are very proud and lucky to have with us knowledge partners in the form of AstraZeneca, the A Catalyst network, which enables mentorship and incubation for the startups we engage with across the world uh, through the widespread network that they have, NASCOM, with their core work in technology. And of course, a very important component when you talk about startups is funding. And today we have a growing network of capitalists, angel investors who have associated with us to be able to provide access to funding for our startups. And it is this network continues to grow, and we really hope that we are able to kind of use this to give the best of all worlds possible to each and every startup who engages with us for their journey. Uh, as mentioned, we have a portfolio of startups, so to say, who are associated with us, and we have been mentoring, guiding, incubating over the past few months, and we have been supporting them in various ways. A lot of tangible things have been achieved. For example, Adivo, which is a startup working with point of care devices for wound care. We have been able to support them with establishing a test at AIIMS Jodhpur, enabling them to understand the government procurement processes and also start setting up dialogues with experts for product expansion. Cure AI is another startup I can highlight, who work with AI and radio. Through the AstraZeneca network and the A Catalyst network, we've been able to help them get access to over 10 markets across the world already in these past few months. Black Frog, a very interesting startup, very timely, working with vaccine delivery, reducing wastage in vaccines during the supply chain. Have been able to set up under this collaboration a test bed with AIIMS Jodhpur and the Rajasthan government to prove really how vaccines are saved with effective transport solutions. Dozy is a very interesting another company who I can highlight, who we are proud to work with, working with step-down ICUs, particularly who have supported in a strong way during the COVID first and second waves with the overburdened hospital network. We've been able to help them get various sales acceleration programs in state access to the government of Goa, and also highlight Jeevtronics, who is a startup who has a very interesting hand cranked defibrillator that they have developed. And we've been able to start working on the South Africa expansion strategy for them, as well as been able to get over 1 crore of rupees in funding from round one that we held. So a lot of what we show here is actually being done, and these are also ways in which we've been working with our startups. And we really hope that this second innovation challenge enables us to identify startups who we can add on to this list and continue to help grow and expand in India and abroad. With that, Harika, maybe I stop there and hand back over to you.
Thank you so much, Amrit. You have talked a lot about what we have been doing on the Innovation Center. Maybe it's always good to hear from one of our current cohort of startups itself on what help that they have received through us. So I will now request Dr. Rajasa, Medical Director of Curator, to please go ahead and tell the audience on how you got benefited through our ecosystem.
Hi. Hi. Thanks, Harika, and thanks for India Sweden Healthcare Innovation Center for actually selecting us in the first cohort. And we have had a very interesting sort of 1-year journey with this program. To tell a little bit about ourselves, we are a startup which is looking at applying AI into histopathology diagnosis, which is a very niche area in the healthcare and especially in cancer patient management. And at times patients have to, pathologists have to spend a lot of time in coming to a diagnosis. So our solutions can help cut down their reporting times as well as increase their accuracy. Having said this, it is also a difficult area to work with because the laboratories today are not completely digitized, and so they need to undergo one step before they can adopt our products. So coming to our interactions in this program, we have had a lot of help from the team. As you can see, it is a very niche area, so we did clinical validations. So that's the first thing every startup and every product needs to look at in the healthcare landscape. So we have been connected to quite a few hospitals through this team to work on clinical validations, and some of those talks are ongoing. But what I would like to highlight here is beyond this, there has been a lot of support from the team. Especially, I would like to thank the knowledge partners, AstraZeneca and that team. We have been linked to them. And the interactions with their team have helped us understand the market insights, the geographical and, understanding of how our product has implications. And even on the pharma R&D side, the diagnostic license really helped us understand that aspect. The program also offers a lot of mentorship opportunities. So as a startup, we lack quite a bit on a lot of aspects. We do not have the manpower to, talk and do all sorts of things like HR, your internal team building, your internal culture development, access to markets. So I put up all these requests through this program, and the team was very, very responsive in connecting with me to the right people to, help understand these. In fact, we spoke to AstraZeneca HR from India, then the Business Sweden office in Middle East to understand the Middle East market. So it was really useful. We were connected to investors because we were also going through the funding round. So the team helped us connect with the right investors, and those discussions also went off well. There are also a lot of webinars which are conducted on topics which we would otherwise try to read from Google and internet and all, but having to hear them from experts and also getting exposure to those contacts. So like on IP, how to develop your IP, something about legal. So overall, I feel it is a very holistic program. It doesn't just focus on your product validation or clinical validation. It actually thinks about what a startup would need and provide you that kind of all-round mentorship. To end with, I want to say that the team was really, really fun to work with. Harika and Dolly, they were very responsive. They do regular catch-ups with you to, understand where you are, what are your needs. So overall, it has been a great experience working on this program, and we hope that this continues in future too. Thank you.
So much, Rasa, for your kind words, and we will definitely continue the journey with you. With that said, I would now request we have a small switch. I would now request Mr. Alexander, Vice President, Medical International and Global Health of Innovation Hubs, a Catalyst Network, to help these startups understand what are the key benefits that they could get. And post that, we will go into the innovation challenge statements. Over to you, Alexander.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. It's a great pleasure and privilege to be here today representing AstraZeneca and our healthcare innovation hubs community, and also as a team contribute to such a fantastic initiative success in India. As a team at AstraZeneca and a Catalyst Network, our endeavor has always been to offer promising startups the avenue to showcase and explore getting successfully implemented in markets beyond India. And we are really happy to share that, and also been mentioned today, that one of our winners from the last challenge is now presently part of the project spanning 10 countries across the region, and also another one successfully set up operations in international markets. When it comes to the benefits for startups, for the founders community, as you see, we have expanded our offerings to last year, which helps you founders further in your scale up. And again, as you see, there is a menu of 8 benefits we can provide you with our distinguished partners. And just a few to call out from today's meeting perspective, it is about, of course, clinical validation with the support from our distinguished partners. And of course, you will be able to clinically validate your solutions within their campuses to further enhance your solutions and bring them closer to patients, and also help healthcare environment and healthcare professionals to bring more value to their customers. It is about mentorships, and as a team, not only in India, but beyond, we have a network of mentors, not only and necessarily representing different functions within AstraZeneca, starting from early stage R&D and late stage, ending by our commercial market access, and even just mention HR team members, but also it is about our external partners, anchor partners and community, including industry leaders, including investors, academia, and so on. And we are here to support you with that. Funding been mentioned today. We have onboarded with 10 plus VCs, and we'll be providing access to these funds for the most successful ones. Also, maybe a few more to mention global reach. Again, we represent 20 plus interconnected health innovation hubs. And again, we cover the globe, starting from Australia, New Zealand, ending by San Francisco. And again, we are here to support you also with the global reach. Moreover, when you think about a Catalyst Network, think about our external partners ecosystem, and there is a chance, again, not only through their global reach, but also networking, actually, to use our a Catalyst Network, and to further develop and to co-create with minds which think alike, irrespective to the geographies and industries we have involved in their healthcare challenges and patient pain point solution. And if we move to the next slide, when it comes to the timelines for Innovation Challenge, Innovation Challenge is now live, and we would be accepting applications until the October 10th, and our winners will be announced by the end of November. Having said that, I would like to give the bay to you back.
Thank you so much, Alexander. Now I would request Dr. Amit Goyal, head A from AIMS Jodhpur, to give a broad overview about the type of solutions that we are looking at from these startups. Dr. Amit.
Thanks, Harika, for the opportunity. So, I'll speak with the perspective of a clinician, what exactly we look at and what type of solutions we usually want from the startups or any innovator. So this medical care is actually, it's a continuum of care, what we talk about, and it starts not only in the hospital, but right at the patient's doorstep or in the community, as we can say. So it involves patient awareness as well as screening, diagnostics and treatment. So the awareness and screening part, they involve masses. So we need something which is affordable, cost effective and applicable to the masses in general. And we aware them, we screen them, and diagnostic and treatment that goes accordingly on a higher means higher centers, they can take care bulk of them, especially for the complex things. So we have to start right from masses to the higher centers. And the problem statements this year, what we are looking at, the problem statements mainly they involve, there are eight categories. So most of the diseases which we usually look for solutions for, they are chronic diseases like diabetes, cardiovascular or cancers. And the patients, they are mostly in agony for years. They need constant care and support. So like, for example, if we talk about diabetes, the solution for them is a insulin injection. So if we can come up with needle-free drug delivery system, that will be great. Or if something can be done like your constant sugar monitoring, and accordingly the system itself gives the required amount of drug. So such kind of systems, they may be really helpful. And with regards to cancer, cancer is something which gives a lot of disability, and especially head and neck area cancer, which gives lot of disability because it involves your voice, it involves your speech, it involves your swallowing and further communication with the society. A lot of problems are there. So screening is important, diagnosis and management. Management, especially rehabilitation, is also a very important part. So if I can give an example, after laryngectomy, we use these prostheses so that the patient can speak. And they are very costly, and every few months we need to change them. So in India, Bangalore, Dr. Vishal Rao, he developed $1 prosthesis. And that was supported by PMO, and he's using it regularly. So such kind of affordable solutions, if we can give to the patients, or something they can communicate with easily, or their swallowing improves, such solutions, they are readily acceptable. Whenever we think about some solution, the one factor we have to keep in our mind, that exact problem it's giving solution to, and whether it will be sustainable in the market or not, because ultimately they have to be sold in the market. Then only we can call them a successful innovation. So India, when I speak to my colleagues in various hospitals, they use a lot of small techniques to ease their work, and in local language we call them jugaad, and I think all in India we are aware of them. Now the best part is, we never thought of giving it a formal platform, but with innovation challenges, such frugal small things can be given platforms in the form of patents, or maybe a product, or maybe a startup, and these things can be taken forward in a great way. So I think in the end I'll just share a small story which I saw a few days back. This iodine deficiency is a very big problem in many parts of the India. And this iodine supplemented salt, that has solved the problem, but in many parts people are not consuming that, or they are not affordable for it. So what somebody thought of is bindi, which females they put on their forehead. The solution to stick it on the forehead, they put iodine in that, and daily one bindi, the daily requirement of iodine was, that was fulfilled by that. Very small step, but it had a very huge impact, readily acceptable in the society, and it's a very, very cost-effective method. So that's just a very means innovative and a useful example which I can quote at the moment. So in the end, I'll convey my best wishes to all the startups and all the applicants, and wish all of you a very happy participation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amit, for that wonderful example. Definitely a way of frugal and innovative solutions that we definitely have in India. And hopefully we receive multiple such applications through this innovation challenge as well. As Alexander have mentioned earlier, we are open for applications now, and the last date for applications is October 10th. We request all of you to start applying instead of waiting for the last day of the applications. With that said, now I'll be taking some of your questions. You have been a very active audience. We have received a lot of questions. So I'll try to prioritize some of them, and we will address some of the questions later through an email also. So the first question, the common topic of that question is we wanted to connect with AIIMS Jodhpur for conducting some pilot studies. Through this innovation challenge, will we be able to do so? Dr. Kuldeep, if you're there, maybe you could answer that.
Yeah, definitely. So we have a lot of expertise in the area. We have 240 faculty members, and they have expertise in special areas like in oncology, cardiology, nephrology, metabolic disorders, and also gynae. So if any startups is interested to that cancer or some innovations regarding the critical care as well. So we are open for that. We are able to mentor these startups, provide the test bed for conducting the studies. So we have a process which has to be followed. That is the startup has to approach the AIIMS Jodhpur Innovation Center. We'll connect them with the appropriate mentor, and also they can take they have the ethics committee permission for going for the validation on the patient. So this facility is provided from the AIIMS Jodhpur side.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kuldeep. Yes. The second question which we are having, again, I'm trying to generalize some of these questions, is the clinical validation is currently being happening in some of the Indian hospitals. Through this platform, will we be able to connect with some of the hospitals in Sweden and abroad as well? So I'll request Amrit, Alexander, and Deepak to answer this question. I know it's multiple people to answer, but yeah. Amrit, do you want to go first?
No, sure, absolutely. So I think part of the mentorship that we provide is to provide also access for startups to foreign markets. We do have hospital networks across the world, and I'm sure there could be possibilities. There are no live cases which I can cite at this point that we have done this for. But of course, we would need to explore what are the type of regulatory requirements for such a process, what type of clearance processes are required to set it up. But in terms of the network, I could say along with AstraZeneca, we would be quite strong in that. India for sure. Deepak or Alex, would you like to add in creating test beds in different countries? Yeah.
Please go ahead, because you are managing not only India but across all the HIH centers. So looking forward for yours.
Thank you so much, Deepak, and we are fully aligned, Samrit. Again, because it depends on quite a few variables, including local healthcare environment and legislation. But again, we have a proven track record of supporting startups in their scaling up activities from India, again, and what we need actually to do and to have in place, that their solutions need to be relevant not only for India and Indian patients, but also addressing Asia's current healthcare challenges and also unmet patient needs. In this case, through our network of also AstraZeneca hubs, but most importantly, our partners across the globe, including clinical setting institutions, academia, and most importantly, also non-traditional to us at the moment partners like tech, fintech companies. We are more than happy to be involved in terms of validation, and we have quite a few projects ongoing in terms of validating different kinds of activities and then scaling up and supporting startups. And also last, maybe comment from my end, again, and quite a few of distinguished panelists were referring to the frugal and reverse innovation. You are so famous, actually you have invented and you proved, this concept in action. And I do believe that Indian founders and Indian startups can bring a lot of patients across the globe, again, driving this frugal innovation wave on behalf of all of us and our patients.
One example I can set in is that one of the startups, Cure AI, was again one of the startups, is one example that was introduced through AstraZeneca to many markets. And I'm sure with one of our focus therapeutic area, oncology, and some of the unmet need and the gaps which are there in different countries as part of their patient journey, they are now being looked into how those gaps can be bridged. And if there is any gap in terms of regulatory processes, that's also a benefit of AstraZeneca happening. So we are open to it. And I think the HIH Center across the world can also be a test bed in coming times for these startups.
Thanks, Deepak, Alexander, and Namrat. The other question that we have, and I'll invite the same speakers, is does this platform only help in idea to POC opportunity, or it will also help in sales and marketing, or both? Maybe Deepak, I can see you on screen. Maybe you can take the lead.
No, that was the, I think Dr. Mishra and Dr. Kuldeep also resonated saying we need to have startups which are in their different journey of today. One is from validation to point of, validation of POC to commercialization. And I think I can say that with proud of my team in India, what they have done is the introduction of the startup which are close to commercialization, connecting them with state and central governments, giving them atmosphere or grounds to test the hypothesis, also to bring up some real world experience data out of it, is what we can help as AstraZeneca. An example is, I think, a good tie-up with DOSI to start with, or from the early healthcare challenges, talk about TRICOG or Predible, are very good examples of picking up, helping their commercialization, also introducing or partnering them with these state and central government.
Thanks, Deepak. Alexander and Amrit, anything to add here, or I'll go to the next question?
I could maybe just say that definitely we have the capability of being able to help startups across, and we would like to build a pipeline. But of course, I think where you would see larger benefit of the collaboration and the constellation we currently have is when you're probably closer to a proof of concept, and when you're probably more over the line over there. I think there is when you would see even additional force you can get behind yourself with the tools we have. So while we do work with all, I would say if you really see where you get a much more punch, it would be once you really have a proof of concept and then on. That's been our experience so far.
common question was around do you keep more emphasis on the market size, sales, and these key numbers during the application evaluation, or does a prototype will also work? So, Alexander and Deepak, maybe you could take up this question.
Thank you so much for such a great question, Harika and the team. I think the key when it comes to us and our partnership is pretty much about healthcare challenges we have and unmet patient needs rather than something different. We are driven by these two variables when it comes to our partnership and support, either with the founders community or our anchor partners. And then actually the latter come. Why? Because again, we believe that I think the future of healthcare actually is and will be, patient-centered and value-based, and it is up to all of us in partnership together with founders community, because to be honest, from our perspective, founders and startups will rule the world, and they will actually drive the healthcare, of the future agenda and so on. And that is why actually we are driven by supporting them in addressing unmet needs rather than thinking from or starting from, I think, the examples you just mentioned. And again, Deepak, over to you.
I totally align with you. And that's why I think more than AstraZeneca coming in at the beginning, it's AIIMS Jodhpur, AIIMS Delhi, all the physician experts, they come together and they put their challenges, what they're seeing in the current real world scenario, and say, here is the challenge which we find in the patient journey. And any startup can have a disruptive technology to bridge it, I think more than the welcome.
Thanks, Deepak. The next question I'll ask with AIIMS Jodhpur, Dr. Kuldeep and Dr. Mishra. There were a few areas that some of the startups have highlighted. One of the prominent being mental health. Will you be interested in looking at applications that are related to mental health is one of the questions.
So definitely, we have a expertise in the area of mental health. We have around 7-8 faculties who are interested in this. We are also, again, at the continuum of the care, right from the community to the screening, to providing care in the community, to the tertiary care helpline services. So all these are provided by AIIMS Jodhpur. And we have mentoring also the students of the MSc Psychology. So when you develop a project, so a lot of help will be available from AIIMS Jodhpur regarding the mentoring, regarding the mental health. And this is, I think, is coming up to be the most important problem, clinical problem which we are encountering after COVID. There's a lot of stress and a lot of things which are related to the mental health, and this need to be targeted.
Thanks, sir. And the other area of question is on the innovative nutraceutical companies. So would you be interested in solutions that are developing innovative nutraceutical companies?
Nutraceutical?
Yes.
Again, the nutrition is also an important part as far as the what is the effect on the body. Biochemical changes, phenotypical changes we can assess. We have expertise both from the pediatrics and the medicine, and the other field also in the public health also about the nutrition, the nutraceutical helping the patient. So that can be mentored from AIIMS Jodhpur. Definitely. Again, there is a strict regulation has to be followed, because these nutraceuticals should be like an alignment with a regulatory body from India.
And the last area that people are asking the question on is on the COVID management. So we have a solution on PPE detection, COVID prevention norms, and on safety of employees. So can we apply to this challenge?
COVID also actually, it is during the COVID time, our hospital was rated as the best among all of the Rajasthan for the COVID management. And we have a team of expertise which are available right from the contact tracings to the prevention, to the vaccination services, to the management, including the ICU care and the high level care. So for the staff protection, because the employees protection is also very important, we have used a strategy. I think this is a very innovative strategy used at in Jodhpur for protecting the students, medical students. So we had done the twice testing, 2-time testing. Once they arrive in the college, and once they are there for 5 days, we repeat the test. And when they are negative, then we are allowing them to mingle with the patient. So in that way, we are able to protect them also and the patient population also.
Thank you so much, sir. There were a couple of questions on the application process itself. I request Deepak and Namrit to answer this. One is, can we apply for multiple problem statements? And is there an application process also different for multiple problem statements, which is not? But Amrit and Deepak, over to you.
Go ahead, Deepak. Maybe you can start.
You go ahead. I think for me, it's more than the welcome. If you have a same platform which is able to help us in bridging the gap of different problems or different TAs, very cost effective, right? Because an expert will see many of those patients in their OPDs, which may be having issues with metabolic or diagnosis of cancer, or a general physician taking care of different kind of aspects of diseases. So if the platform is able to help us to bridge those gaps, more than welcome. But the nitty-gritty of this, I think I leave it to Amrit.
No, absolutely. So I think if you are if your product is so diverse that it can kind of address, of course, it would be very interesting to learn about it. So we definitely invite you to apply. You can select multiple areas, but of course, it could be good that in the material you upload, you might want to kind of focus on maybe the predominant areas which are already proven and the areas which you're continuing to work on. And it's very often like that, right? You probably have one area which is proved, tested out there, some other items that you're adding on. There is no separate evaluation process to it. It's the same committee that will look into it and analyze it.
I will take one last question, which is funding. So how does this platform enable funding? Is the question. Amrit, I can see you, so you go to you.
Yeah, maybe Harika, you've been working a lot with funding. You're actually leading a lot of the funding things. So please go ahead.
So in terms of funding, we are not providing any kind of a grant directly to the startups onboarded with the Innovation Center platform. But what we are enabling is connect to a lot of venture capitalists and angel investors through this platform. You have seen a couple of those names listed in the slide earlier, but we do have connections to multiple other stakeholders also. So we will definitely give you a platform where you could pitch to these investors and have that initial dialogue with the investors to finally get funded through some of these investors. With that said, I'm sorry I couldn't take all of your questions, but you could definitely reach out to us. The credentials will be shared to you after this call. You please reach out to us if you have any specific question which we were unable to address during this call. And we'll hope to see all of your applications come in sooner. And we're happy to connect with all of you during this discussion. I would request all the speakers maybe to stay on for one more minute while I take a group photograph and before I let you leave. Thank you so much for all the people who have joined via YouTube.
Yeah. Everybody